Hey, everybody, welcome to the second of many in our CDP webinar series. This one, we are focusing on CDPs and why they're not created equal. I have Chris Russell, part of the go-to-market team within Tealium, joining us today, and really looking forward to some of the discussion we've got planned.
Thanks, John. So Chris Russell with Tealium. I've been with Tealium for about 5 years now, part of the automotive go-to-market team here at Tealium, and cover some of our larger strategic global accounts within the organization as well. But prior to Tealium, I was in the omni-channel marketing automation space, and then prior to that, I was in data deliverability and analytics. So thanks again for having me, Dominic and John.
Chris, it's a pleasure to have you here. We got a bunch of really great questions to ask you that are going to help the automotive industry. As you said previously, Tealium is not just an automotive specific company. It is a global enterprise company. Can you give me a brief intro on Tealium and kind of talk about the scalability of what Tealium covers?
Sure. So Tealium is a real-time data collection and activation engine, really known for its platform flexibility and scalability, and one of the largest data processors in the world. Fun fact for you guys, we process around 5 trillion events annually, which is equivalent to annual Google search volume. So service a lot of the very large enterprise global accounts, along with many of the OEMs and dealer groups around the US and other parts of the world as well. Our real-time CDP is really at the center of the customer data hub, but we also license enterprise data collection and data layer technology used globally across, like we said, a variety of verticals, servicing roughly around 850 global clients. Aside from servicing the auto retailers and OEMs, many of the large verticals like pharma, financial services, travel, tech, and retailers are within our fold as well.
Small startup company.
Yeah, we've been around for quite a while. Initially started the CDP category back in 2013, and one of the largest data collection providers in the world. So it's been fun to be here and part of the journey.
So speaking of that, what made Tealium join the automotive space? What was, I guess, intriguing in stepping into automotive retail when prior to that, or currently even you're in significantly larger volume industries, like you mentioned, pharma. What was intriguing about automotive?
Tealium organically fell into the automotive space, really through a lot of inbound interest from the auto retailers and OEMs out there. Ironically, they were trying to solve the same big data challenges that most of our other verticals and clients were solving for. So naturally, it was a good fit for Tealium, and we just needed some internal investment around go-to-market functions, product, and customer success. Again, those big data challenges that a lot of these auto retailers are solving for are mainly centered around how we get data in and out of systems in a way that, one, mitigates risk for the business, captures the largest amount of revenue for the use cases at hand for the CDP, and then cuts the most cost for the business in parallel, right? So some of those specific challenges would be eliminating data silos across the business, unifying those disparate systems that don't talk to each other in real time, getting legacy technologies to play nice with other legacy systems, DMS and CRM, and really just creating that 360-degree view of the customer. Consent and privacy orchestration is all in that as well. Real-time personalization is in that. Accurate data feeding into analytics, not dirty data, and then really AI readiness and activation. So everything that we're seeing in other verticals, a lot of our auto retail groups are demanding that as well. And some are already kind of doing that with us today. So that's really kind of why we got in this space.
I really like the second half of that answer that you gave when you're talking about all the different things that Tealium is able to provide when it comes to the marketing automation, creating that unified view of the customer. And that kind of leads me into where I want to go next with what is a CDP? Because this is a huge buzzword in the automotive industry right now. Not a whole lot of people understand truly what that CDP is. Is this just a glorified marketing platform? What is it really doing for me? So could you kind of explain briefly what a CDP is and how is that different from like an out-of-the-box solution, what the automotive industry is used to today?
That's kind of a loaded question, right? Yeah, I mean, you're right. There's a lot of confusion and misinterpretation of what a CDP is. But I think when you really very simplistic view, a CDP is a system that's able to collect data across all of the systems and touch points, standardize, enrich, and transform that data into a single customer profile, right? And then, you're resolving identities in real time, stitching that together, and then being able to integrate, actionize that, and activate it downstream to all of those other technologies. So, very kind of simplistically put, that's what a CDP is. There's a lot more like under the hood when you get into out of box solutions, traditional CDPs, marketing automation platforms, slapping a CDP on their label, stuff like that. But that's a really hard thing to do, right? We've been doing that since 2013. Tealium has evolved over and over and over again. We're continually doubling down on investment within current product and future product and capabilities and stuff too. So it's hard to do that in itself, but it sounds simple, but being able to do that in real time and update all those different systems, resolving identity, and solve for the complexity of use cases that some groups have. Like some of the groups out there, they've got 280 plus different micro audiences that they're going on a one-to-one basis, right? Some of our retailers have north of 800, right? So all CDPs aren't created equal. It takes a lot. Not saying out of the box solutions aren't great and useful in some capacity, but that's kind of the definition of a CDP. What I would say, like a CDP is not, it's not a database. It's not a warehouse. It's not a marketing automation platform. It can't unify customer data. It can't resolve identities in real time and then activate in real time. If it can't do those things, the unifying customer data, resolving identities, and activating audiences in real time, it's not a CDP.
So with that answer, you mentioned that it's not a warehouse, it's not a database. Where is all the data stored that comes into Tealium? How does an automotive dealer provide that data to you? Do they need a CDW? Do you get it straight from their DMS?
So interesting question. That would be up to the dealer. Our architecture is extremely flexible. We see some dealer groups utilizing a customer data warehouse or data lake. We see others not. But in the end, it's, what do you want your customer experience to look like? And what are you trying to solve for the business? Maybe that DMS is pulled in. I would say DMS, CRM, CDW, all of that stuff we see as those native integrations that obviously come into Tealium and are resolving like 360-degree profiles. You can think of like the customer data warehouse as a lot of historical, which we've got warehouses built into Tealium and stuff too. But our warehouse isn't like to the capacity of a Snowflake or a Databricks, right? That's why those are core partners for us. That they do things really, really well. Sure, we've got a warehouse built in that can store historical data as long as you need, right? But when you think about those solutions out there that do it really well, whether it's a cross-channel marketing platform or a data warehouse, those are our core partnerships that we double down on. So we really go through an exercise with all of our auto retail clients and other verticals as well to say, what's the data that matters to you? Let's bridge that into the system, wrap it around customer profiles, and then determine where it needs to go to solve for your key use cases.
100%. John, I'm sorry to steal the thunder from you for a little bit, but this is super interesting.
No, you're totally fine. Go ahead.
You talk about all these integrations that Tealium's partnered with, like the Snowflakes and the Databricks and some of these other turnkey products that you guys directly integrate with. How many different vendors does Tealium work with on a day-to-day basis, or how many do you have integrations with?
Ooh, I don't know. I don't know the count, but I know we've got 1,300 plus out of the box integrations. That was the really a core thing, as our founders built us back in 2013, that many of our global clients are trying to solve, right? Is how do we get one part of the world and one system to talk with another part of the world and another system? Transparently, this came from global organizations, Adobe needing to talk with Snowflake, right? Or talk with Salesforce, right? And so we're that bridge in between. We're seeing that in automotive as well, like the CRMs and DMSs and cross-channel marketing platforms, same need, right? And so that's why we're doubling down on building out, we're an API first company. Sure, we can ingest everything else in certain ways, and timestamp it out, whatever you need. But it's really, we're starting to see most auto retailers focus on real time, really kind of follow that traditional path that the travel agencies, the traditional retailers, the Abercrombie and Fitches out there and stuff are doing. And that's where it's like moments that matter to the group, right? And each individual rooftop within the group. So that's where it's kind of funny. You see many vendors out there have slapped CDP on their product label for, honestly, I think it's probably for a revenue grab, right? Or to help reduce churn risk because some other vendor does it well. But most aren't a traditional CDP, nor do they have those native capabilities. We launched way back in the day. We're doubling down in investment, and we know to stay in our lane. And that lane is data collection and data activation. And that's why we really focus on the partnership angle out there. Choosing those best of breed partnerships from a vendor perspective, but then also from an agency perspective. I mean, you guys are incredible partners with us. That was a very well thought out, long conversation that we had. That will provide and is providing value to the greater auto retail community. Long-winded answer to your question, Dominic.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Like we mentioned, it's kind of a buzzword in the industry right now, and automotive tends to go through these, and very few of them end up sticking. I know we're all of the belief that this is essential to the future of the industry as a whole, and that's clearly reflected in every other retail segment. It's sticking. But why do you feel like CDPs or variations of CDPs fail in some dealerships, and why have some not seen some of the success that they believe they should receive with a CDP?
Well, I guess kind of going back, many there's organizational alignment that absolutely matters, but choosing the right CDP and right solution also matters. And there's many vendors out there that are really good at their core technology and purpose, right? Whether it's being a map solution, a CRM or DMS or whatever. But we're starting to see that those out of the box solutions out there, they may be great at first, with some of those dealer groups, and they may be able to adopt those things because it's easily plug and play, right? But
Right.
In the end, if you really want to be strategic with your data and digital, you've got to have the right people and process in place. So some of those implementation failures that you see, I think it's mostly alignment across the required stakeholders and what needs to be done or why it is important, right? Like this would lead to delays in value because of like the missing data and unused activations or even perpetual reprioritization of use cases. So sometimes you have too many cooks in the kitchen, and sometimes you don't have enough cooks in the kitchen. And I think that is where, when you think about whether it's Tealium technology or some other technology out there, if it works, for the majority of their clients and it doesn't work for another client and you're executing on the same use cases and using, the same technologies that are coming in or out, you have to start looking at kind of people and process, and I think that's where, again, our relationship with OMG, you guys being an expert in the space, has really come into play quite a bit. We're still learning from you guys. You guys are still learning from us. There's definitely a growth that's happening on both ends, but in the end, everyone needs to be focused on the task at hand, right? And what we've seen is some of these stakeholders, they get caught up with like, the shiny objects in the space or the other tools in the space. They don't focus on the use cases that, they come into the project and say, this is the use case we want to get live. This is when we want to start proving value and then move on to the next one. If you throw 10 to 15 use cases out there, and say, this is what we want to do. Maybe we start with 3, right? Like what are the 2 quick wins that we can get done in the first like couple weeks? And then what's the strategic win? I think, Rorman did a really good job at this. They came in, they were like, here's our top 3. This is what we want to execute. That was done in ahead of schedule. And then, by the end of the year, they had another 280 plus different audiences and activations that they were doing and scaling across all of their different rooftops. But that focus needs to happen at first. So I think that the focus point, right people, right process is a core thing.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. I remember when you and I were talking, I don't remember when this was, a while back, just about the automotive industry as a whole. And one of my, favorite sayings about automotive, it's so unique, and kind of getting the industry to slow down, because realistically, most operations, most industries function on 12-month, the 12-month turn, right? A 12-month focus.
Yep.
Automotive has 12 years in a single year. So trying to prioritize and create some perspective. You mentioned prioritizing the first initial few use cases. That's always a different tone of a conversation for a lot of us in automotive.
Sure. Many of us are impatient, right? And the nature of the beast with automotive is get it done, get it done now.
Yeah.
But with CDP, there is a building process. Whether it is out of the box and you have to redo things or whatever else, or it's customized, there's still lift that needs to happen, because when you think about a traditional or a true CDP, there's data that needs to come in, whatever system it is. It needs to be wrapped around a segment and an audience, and then it needs to be sent somewhere. So whether it's a map solution with light CDP capabilities or traditional CDP, like those 3 functions still have to happen for data to flow in, wrap around a 360-degree view of the customer, and then be sent out.
Yeah, with this enterprise CDP solution, Tealium is not one of those turnkey solutions where it's up and running within 2 weeks. You have to fully build this thing up from the ground up. So I know a lot of dealers are probably wondering, how long does this take? I know this is not a super cheap investment, but we're trying to build our future here with our marketing and connecting to our customer base. What does the process kind of look like to build a CDP?
Well, there's certainly project planning, right? Who's going to have hands on keyboard? Are you going to have agency support? We have an extremely robust customer success team over here, but it's really prioritizing those use cases. And I think finding those quick win use cases right off the bat, a lot of those are traditionally related to some kind of abandonment on the website, whether it's a service scheduler or whatever else. Ad tech, how are we going to save them money, or even bringing them back into the fold for some kind of follow-up service. That's where being intentional about the use cases that are chosen first are very important. I'll say, like, a lot of our traditional retailers, the Abercrombies or the Victoria's Secrets, or even the travel and hospitality organizations like the Hyatts out there, like they can stand up a use case, for around ad tech within 2 weeks, right? I mean, Hyatt just did this with their Google ads, and they saw a $12 million return over 3 months, right? And that's one of the 1,300 plus out of the box integrations. So I think that's where it's becoming very intentional of, how are we going to get our ROI back into the business faster? And then what are some more of the strategic ones that then tie in all of the other disparate systems? Our role is really just to work with, our clients and go through that. We have, again, enterprise customer success management that is on all of our accounts. So, we'll go through a project management phase and just say, hey, here's initial implementation. We've got the 3 different use cases. And then a lot of times we'll come on site to our clients after that implementation and have a whiteboarding session with, fixed ops and, leadership teams, sales, GMs, everything else, and just say, what's next, right? And so some of these we're coming out of, like, here's the next 35 to 40 different use cases, and here are all the data sources that we need, audiences we need to build, which are easily like duplicative over all of the different rooftops. And then here's how we activate to execute this. So very different than just kind of out of the box. You've got, there's so many different ways that you can kind of customize within that we don't box people in, but we also don't, we're not hands off. We're very hands on from a strategy and support perspective.
100%. Yeah, I know a lot of dealers' goal is going into this. They'll be like, "Well, I want to sell more cars, or I want to
Yeah,
service more
yeah.
cars." Tealium is there to do that for you, but how do we want to achieve that goal? And I think that's a really cool thing for you guys.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the same audiences that are being set up and those same use cases of, okay, I want to sell more cars, all of that data being pushed in is also then automated downstream to save the business costs, is
Yep.
also automated downstream to protect the business for, compliance and risk when we think about privacy, indications and everything else. So, lot of stuff that you can do with it. The more use cases you activate, it doesn't increase your investment with Tealium, but it does increase the ROI.
It's
Yeah,
awesome.
speaking of, I wanted to bring up a little case study from one of the early use cases. You mentioned some of the abandonment. We call them shopping cart abandonment, right? In traditional retail, um, the Rorman Group early on in implementation, one of the first use cases was that service scheduler
Mm.
abandonment use case, and we have some information on that in its early implementation. The store that we looked at was an Indianapolis Honda dealership, and within 30 days, in a month, we realized that about 25% of people that began a process on that tool ended up exiting it for one way or another, or for
Mm.
one reason or another. And so through some of that collaboration back and forth, that was one of the early on use cases that we attacked, was how do we retrieve those customers? How do we get them back and complete that process? And within that 30-day evaluation window, we saw that about 30% of the people that quit that process ended up coming back just via one-to-one communication from the CDP and the marketing activation. And 60% of those that returned ended up completing that process. So, you talk about ways to try to retrieve that ROI early on. That's one of my favorite use cases, because it really doesn't matter what manufacturer and who you look at. That is a huge opportunity for automotive retail, in any, like I said, in any manufacturer. And that was one that retrieved roughly, I believe it was $17,000 in just that 1 month of evaluation at one dealership. Right.
And
So,
that's just one use
uh,
case as well.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome to hear. I mean, then you compound that right across the 20 plus rooftops, and then you add the other 280 plus different use cases that they have within
Right.
their platform now, right? So CDP easily pays for itself. There's a lot of value. There's those quick wins that you're mentioning right now around service scheduler, and then there's that'll take you, I don't know, 10 seconds to build that audience in Tealium, and then you move on, right? So awesome to hear about that success.
So a little bit, as we kind of close this out and maybe bring this a little bit back to the start, for those that don't know, we have an exclusive partnership with Tealium. Chris, you want to speak a little bit about how that kind of came together, what the motivation, I guess, behind that partnership was, and where we are today and what we hope to do in the future.
Yeah, I mean, as mentioned before, we've got a great relationship with Orange Media Group. It's been super collaborative, and we've learned a lot from you guys, and we hope that we've taught some stuff with to you guys as well in the data and digital space. But this partnership actually came to fruition when we saw a large need within the dealer community around resource constraints and ability to successfully adopt a CDP, right? So you guys were helping with Rorman. You've helped with quite a few other groups as well, or in process of standing up some of those other groups as well. So we saw this organic interest that is coming into Tealium from dealer groups. Some of those dealer groups, sub 10 rooftops that don't have any kind of traditional resources to make this successful, nor do they want to be hands-on, be like, hey,
Right.
we'll throw some money at it, like just make this work and you guys do it for us. And so that's where really this partnership came about, is Tealium focuses directly on a lot of the larger dealer groups, the 10 plus, that traditionally do have more resources from a human capital, perspective, and then also even agencies involved and stuff as well. So that's kind of how this came about. And then when you guys started kind of taking off and showing all of your guys' success that you've had with a couple of these different groups around the country, we were like, wow, this is amazing. We've got to formalize it. So we created an environment where you've got, a platform as a service, and you guys can go in and quickly stand up these dealer groups that want to be serviced, quickly, want use cases stood up quickly, and then be able to be more hands off as well while bringing your guys' expertise. So we kind of looked at that as like, hey, this is a no brainer. This is a part of our go to market function here at Tealium now, and it's been extremely successful.
Yeah, we were pretty excited. Had one of our early partners within this relationship stood up and activated on within, Dominic, correct me if I'm wrong, but just over 30, 40 days within a 7 rooftop group. So it's been an awesome partnership. It's been really, really exciting to be a part of it. I think there's no doubt that we're at the beginning of this. So I know we're really excited to continue to grow with you. And I know we've learned quite a bit. If nothing else, I've learned corporate terminology, and it's wiped away a lot of my automotive terminology that I unfortunately have adapted.
Yeah, it's different.
Circlebacks.
It's different verbiage, right?
Yeah,
we're learning all of the automotive verbiage as well, and tapping into where you guys feel like automotive is going and where automotive CDP needs to go, and so we're really integrating that into a lot of our philosophy and product and how we're launching as well. So I know there's a lot of big questions out there around automotive CDP, and kind of where this is going. And so we greatly appreciate your guys' partnership and perspective and influence.
Yeah, it's been awesome working with you, Chris. Looking forward to what's to come in the future. I'm sure we're going to be ramping up and staying busy here going into the next few months when everybody's starting to listen to these webinars and educate themselves some more on CDP and Tealium.
Yeah, a lot of AI stuff in the future. That's bound to happen. But I think with anything and integrating AI into the mix for the dealer groups, is you've got to have a first party data strategy first, right?
Yeah.
Like you've got to have a data layer, a foundation to be able to activate off of. And that's where Tealium is really kind of coming in and doing that with a lot of our global clients already, and starting to see the Rormans and Morgans of the world tapping into some of those new AI use cases as well.
It's awesome.
Well, I know we could go on forever if we wanted to, but we're coming right up at our time. So, Chris, I really appreciate your time joining us today, and Dominic, good as always to see your face and chat. And I look forward to a few more of these in the future. But guys, obviously, if any of you have questions at all regarding Tealium, regarding Orange Media Group, regarding CDP in general, Chris, Dominic, myself, any one of us would love to chat. Just jump on a call and go through some of those burning questions within the industry right now. So hope to hear from you guys soon. And otherwise, guys, it was great to talk to you today.
Appreciate it.
You too.